kind of
Kennedy.
comments. But what we're not getting is reasonable comments from our Prime Minister, Justin Fidel Castro. Tell us about
The
him,
true dictator.
the true dictator. Apparently, Fidel Castro's like son was like had a he sent a note basically saying that his dad is super proud of Justin. And I was
Oh
like,
boy.
I know, I remember hearing that. I was like, that's Fidel
Trudeau
Castro.
announces
Fidel
ban on
Jr.
handgun sales transfers, saying fewer handguns mean safer communities.
Prove
Handgun
it.
freeze is the most aggressive Canadian gun control measure in a generation.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I don't know if that's something to brag about. I mean, I'm
Yeah, it's
sure,
not.
I'm sure Hitler could make that same claim
Yeah.
when he banned the guns. He's like, this is the most significant, gun control measure in the generation. I'm like, I don't know if you
And then
want
what
to be
immediately followed? The gun
something
control
bad,
measure?
something
Kriegsdeutschland.
bad. Well, and in every country that's done this, there's been some horrible
In Venezuela, they
abuses of
banned
government.
guns. Now they eat rats.
Yeah. In Australia, they banned guns, and they were sent to like COVID camps. Lovely stuff.
Concentration camps. Oh, wait, they're internment facilities.
Oh, let's rename those terrible things.
Yep. So the handgun freeze, which went into effect Friday, outlaws sales, purchases, and other transfers of handguns between individuals. Additionally, no foreign handguns may be brought into the country from abroad. Quote, Canadians have a right to feel safe in their homes, in their schools, and in their places of worship. I feel less safe with a handgun ban. Trudeau said in a statement on the freeze, with handgun violence increasing across Canada, it is our duty to take urgent action to remove these deadly weapons from our communities. Today, we're keeping more guns out of our communities and keeping our kids safe.
What a garbage talking point, hey?
Oh, I had several people the weekend try and tell me this talking point.
Yeah.
They're like, oh yes, like fewer guns keep people safe. And I'm like,
no.
You realize they're like, Canada has fewer school shootings. I'm like, Canada invented school shootings. You ever remember École Polytechnique? And they're like, well, we have fewer. I'm like, yes, we have fewer people.
Yeah.
I'm like, but we have no way to stop them.
And
they're like, well, there was nobody who stopped. Like, the cops didn't go in Uvalde. I'm like, no, it was an off-duty officer who went in because he was a good guy with a gun.
Yeah. That was not Uvalde was not evidence that guns are not helpful or that they don't stop school shootings. Uvalde was evidence of
that
police
you should not rely on the cops to save you and your family from somebody else armed with a gun. You should have a gun so that you can defend yourself when somebody evil comes by.
I think that was also the case in the one in Florida, that like the school resource officer, like the one who had actually the gun and all that, he refused to go in.
Yep.
He just wouldn't. And I'm like, that
Parkland.
doesn't show. Yeah, Parkland. That doesn't show that guns don't work. It shows that you need people who are brave enough to use them.
Yeah.
To actually use them.
That person left the conversation when I brought up Sutherland Springs.
Yeah, of course. Now, the thing was, for those who don't know, Sutherland Springs hero, who basically shot and I think he killed an attempted mass murderer using his own gun, which was brilliant, so good. So here's a couple things that Canadians have the right to feel safe. This whenever a tyrant or an authoritarian abuser wants to do something evil, he will always come up with some kind of a legitimate reason to do it. And in the case of guns, they'll always say it's about safety. Safety is the number one talking point by demagogues who want to take away something that you have a right to. And they say like, oh, it's for your own safety. It's for your own good. That was COVID, like the entire time. It's like, oh, it's for your own good, for your own safety. Give me a break. They're not going to make communities here, because why is there an increase in handgun violence? Steven?
Why is there an increase in handgun violence in Canada?
In Canada, what's driving that increase?
Because we have.
Oh, you don't know?
Well, there's a plethora of reasons.
Well, like the most prominent reason why handgun violence is increasing is because of gang violence. Because gang violence is becoming more and more dangerous and more prominent in like Canadian cities. Now, why is this? Why is this important? Because criminals who are in gangs don't care about
gun control.
So guess what? You take away the guns from law-abiding citizens, and the only people left with the guns are the criminals.
Yep.
It's like you're just basically it's a recipe for making an entire population less safe.
That same
Exactly.
conversation, I was just like, well, the areas with the strictest gun control measures also have very high crime, like New York and Chicago. And they're like, they pointed to this Washington Post article. It's like 80% of the guns are from out of state. And I'm like, yes, that points to the fact that criminals won't follow the law.
How about that?
Like, that doesn't point to the fact that less guns equals fewer crimes.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that, oh, look, you don't have anything to protect yourself. You're easy pickings.
Oh yeah, and guess what? The border has a horrible time trying to stop gun smuggling. The Canadian American border.
Mm-hmm.
Go figures, like super porous. So
Yep.
like the only
And
people
the
that can.
American border under Biden.
Yeah, you know who's
But not,
who's
for
really
not for gun smuggling.
yeah, you know who's really celebrating this gun ban, this handgun ban?
Gangs.
Yeah, oh, actually, like the people who are selling guns on the black market because hey, now they can jack up the prices.
Oh yeah.
Like they love Trudeau's gun ban.
Oh my coworker's just like, I've been buying up guns like crazy, and I'm like, I don't blame you.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, but it's not just that Trudeau wants you to be unarmed. He definitely doesn't want you to defend yourself with the gun. So this is a video that he posted that was from earlier this year.
Mm-hmm.
I believe it was from earlier this year.
Yeah, it was.
And we have a culture where the difference is guns can be used for hunting or for sport shooting in Canada, and there's lots of gun owners, and they're mostly law-respecting and law-abiding. But you can't use a gun for self-protection in Canada. That's not a right that you have in the Constitution or anywhere else. If you try and buy a gun and say it's for self-protection, no, you don't get that. You get it for hunting. You can get it for sport shooting. You can take it to the range, no problem, as long as you go through our rigorous background checks. But there's a difference around the culture. And one of the things that we're seeing...
What a freaking hypocrite.
Yep.
You know what Trudeau has? Every freaking place he
15
goes.
armed guards.
And what do they have? They have guns.
Mm-hmm.
Why do they have guns? Because they plan
protect
to use them as a way of protecting him from potential threats. So this is the same with American politicians and Canadian politicians and everywhere else. They basically say you don't have the right to defend yourself, but the only right you have to be protected. Remember how he said, "Oh, Canadians have a right to a safe community and safe cities and safe whatever." Well, the only way that you can, what happens if somebody comes in and threatens you? What is their solution? Call the cops.
Yep, call the cops and hide.
And the cops, good luck if they show up in time to prevent the threat.
Well, and seeing as how they're Canadian.
Yeah, they're extra slow.
Oh yeah, if they're extra slow, and of course, they're like, well, we're gonna try and coax them out. Like I was driving by this house.
Mm-hmm.
We forgot that Costco closes early on Sundays, so we were like, hey, let's go and get hot dogs with the kids. Mm-hmm. Nope, closed. But on the way, we passed by this house. This house had probably 12 cop cars around it, and there was a guy with a loudspeaker saying, "You are under arrest. Please come outside." And I'm like, "You have a SWAT vehicle. Just raid it." And then by the time we drove back, and it was 10 minutes each way, so it probably took us 15, 20 minutes. Well, probably actually took us about 25, 30 minutes before we came back, and they were still standing outside the house.
Yeah.
I'm like, just raid it. They're just disposing of evidence, you nincompoops.
Good old cops.
Oh, I know. Canadian cops are either, if it comes to people who are violating COVID mandates, which is another reason why Danielle Smith is amazing, and that she's contemplating dropping all COVID charges.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It is amazing.
Yeah.
But Canada cops,
when
it comes to actually pursuing criminals, are absolutely useless.
Well, I mean, Lauren Southern, she had a really good little take on this. She was saying that in the past, she always used to trust cops instinctively.
Oh yeah,
for the most part, cops were generally trustworthy in Canada. But she's saying now, whenever she sees a cop either driving nearby her or anything like that, she's
fear.
and the reason is because she knows that the cops will like they're not going after either drug dealers or criminals or whatever, like because they don't want to have it like dangerous interaction. And then they know that you arrest them, they go back on the street the next day, so they're not even bothering. What they want is that they're instead they're going for law-abiding citizens, people who actually will obey them and if they follow, who are not dangerous, and they're giving them tickets for dumb things. Why? Because A, they need to get the finances for their their department, but B, because like it's much easier to go after the people who are like the law-abiding citizens. It's just like this is stupid. Like the very thing that we want police to do, which is to help police crime, is not happening. And instead, they're turning all their energy on the good guys, which are like the law-abiding citizens, and giving them really stupid tickets. So it's becoming a real problem in Canada when it comes to police officers. I remember hearing like the times for if somebody breaks into my house here in my house right now.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard like response times for cops could be like, I don't know, 15 minutes. If you are outside of the city in the area, that's even longer. By the time they show up, you're already dead. Whoever comes in, like you've already been like hit hard and all that. So the only way you can, I guess, defend yourself in Canada is you have to spend enormous amounts of money to get an armed security guard, and good luck if nobody can afford that. Only our very elite prime minister can afford that kind of stuff. And the sad thing in Canada, you're not even allowed to carry pepper spray or a taser or any other kind of thing that would give you a fighting chance against a deadly adversary. No. It's basically like the criminals. They're
Open
good.
season.
It's open season, really. It's a really sad thing. I think in Canada, I've heard say that they actually carry bear spray with them,
Mm-hmm.
like the bear spray they use in out in nature, because when push comes to shove and they're facing either a life or death situation, or they're facing a rape or no rape situation, they'd rather take their chances and having to face some kind of legal repercussion
Mm-hmm.
than just be totally helpless. That's literally what people are left. The only situation that's what we're left here with here. You are not allowed to defend yourself in Canada. You're basically at the complete and total mercy of criminals. Canada is an absolute joke when it comes to self-defense. You're basically your only option is well, I hope he doesn't kill me. That's your only option. So it's sad. It's really sad. It's a real joke in Canada. And I think it's only going to get worse unless we get rid of this insane lunatic that we have in our government right now.
Yeah. All right.
Anyways,
and then, of course, briefly, we're going to talk about continuing on to the trucker convoy.
The Emergencies Act Commission.
The commission, yes.